This is my leadership interview video reflection. For my interview, I chose Anne O'Toole for my interviewee. She is a 26-year-old woman who lives in Boston, Massachusetts. She works during the school year as a track coach and over the summers at a camp. She's a counselor but also does some administrative things. Some background is she also ran track and cross country at the University of Richmond. So when Anne lived in Richmond, where I grew up, she was a coach for my high school's sprinting team. I ran distance, so I never got to know her super well, but from a distance, I always admired her ability to maintain a positive attitude and motivate those around her to do the same. In any situation, it seemed that she could switch the mood for the sprinters from super negative to super positive. Well, like I said, I never got to know her because I ran distance and she was never my coach. Some of my best high school friends were sprinters and they had a fantastic relationship with her. Some of them still keep in contact with her even after graduation, and she's like a mentor to them. They will call her and tell them about boy problems, things like that, so she really has passed the base of just being a coach. I wanted to hear from her perspective how she was able to balance this power dynamic of being a coach, but also someone that her runners could trust and talk to. I also chose Anne because she works at a camp during the summers, and being a leader for younger children can be very different than being a leader for high school students as a track coach. I wanted to hear how she relates to the kids and help guide them in an environment that's supposed to be fun, but where they also still have responsibilities. Number 2, I will now be discussing my perceptions of the leader during the interview. During the interview, Anne was very poised. She was super, super polite and very engaging. She was dressed in athleisure, but it wasn't lazy athleisure, and that's what you can expect from someone who is a track coach. She looked very put together, and she was sitting at a table. She wasn't slouched on her couch, anything like that. Throughout the interview, she was very attentive, and she made sure to ask me questions So it was more of a discussion than just me grilling her with interview questions. Throughout the interview, she also took her time with her responses. I could tell that she was really interested in what I was saying, but she also wanted to make sure that she gave a thoughtful response and wasn't wasting my time. At the end, I thanked her, and she thanked me for choosing her, which made me very, very happy. She also took a moment to tell me about how, even though we never got to know each other while I was in high school, she admired my own leadership abilities from a distance, and that was something that I was very happy that she took the time to say. And the last thing she told me was that she said, feel free to reach out to me at any time. She was willing to give me advice on running, getting back into running, or just if I have any questions about entering the real world, things like that. And so I was really grateful that I got to build up that relationship with her. Now we're going to take a minute to talk about the key leadership characteristics that she discussed during the interview. The first one she discussed was patience. And patience is very, very important to her, she said, especially when she's working with her campers and younger kids in general. She told a story about how one time there was a little camper who was getting paint everywhere, and instead of having the immediate reaction to yell at him, she went over and she explained why what he was doing is wrong, asked him why he was doing it, and then they worked as a team to clean it up together. And she said if she had just yelled at him, he would have not responded in the same way, and he wouldn't have learned anything from that. But by being patient and talking with him and discussing with him, he was able to respect her and learn from that experience. The second key leadership characteristic that she talked about was understanding. And she told a story about when she was a track coach. One time a student came in and was having a terrible day, just didn't want to participate, was being super nasty, did not want to run, and his attitude was really bringing the team down. So instead of yelling at him, telling him to snap out of it and focus on the workout, she pulled him to the side and asked what was going on in his life. And she said that she understands that today may have been horrible, but it's important for him to think about the team around him. And so she kind of emphasized that if you can communicate to the people that you are trying to lead, that you understand and that their concerns and their issues are valid, they're more likely to understand that they need to switch up their attitude and they can't impact the group in the way that they are. And I think that's also a big part of how she is able to build relationships that extend past just the track and past high school, is that by understanding these kids' lives, that she's able to build a relationship with them and they trust her a lot more. The third key leadership characteristic that she took time to talk about was positivity. And this was part of the main reason that I wanted to interview her in the first place. And what she said was that being negative never helped her in her life. If she really looks back on things, every time that she was positive, she was able to either have more fun or make a situation better. And so she told another story about track where when she was running in college, there was a day where she was just in a bad mood. She didn't feel good about the workout that they were doing. And someone came up to her and said, if you think you're having fun, you might start to believe it. And so that's kind of something that she lives by, trying to find the best in a situation and spreading that to the people around her. And so I thought that was a very cool perspective on things. And I think those three tie into each other very, very well. Being patient, understanding, and positive are ways to make the people around you trust you and respect what you're saying. Because if you have a good relationship with the people around you, they won't want to disappoint you or let you down. So I think those are three very interesting leadership characteristics that she talked about. Now we are going to talk about my perception of her as a leader after the interview. So going into this interview, I had the opinion that her leadership ability seemed super, super natural, and it came to her very easily. But after talking to her, I discovered that there is a lot that she had to learn about being a good leader throughout her entire life. That being high school, running track in college, it could be working as a coach or even as a camp counselor. All of those experiences have taught her elements of being a good leader. As a leader, she now understands the value of building close relationships with those around her. One of the biggest takeaways I got from this interview was the statement, if you were in that person's shoes, what kind of behavior would you respond well to? And I think that's an interesting way to look at things, and something I definitely didn't think about before. And I definitely can see myself applying that to situations where I need to be a leader. Overall, though, I think she is an excellent leader, and she has a great awareness of her skills, but also awareness of the people around her and how she can kind of like adjust her leadership skills to benefit the group in the best way. And number 5, key statements made by this individual that aided me in my understanding of leadership on a practical level. There were 3 quotes from this interview that I wrote down that I thought were very, very impactful and I will take with me definitely after this interview. The first one is a quote, and she said, sometimes I would show up to practice and I would be in a horrible mood. One of those days where when anyone talked to me, I just wanted to walk in the opposite direction. I knew that wasn't an option, however. When I came to practice, I didn't know what might have happened to the students during their day, and I didn't know what they were going through. I made the decision that no matter what kind of day I was having, I needed to put it aside to be there for the runners. It was only 2 hours that I had to lead by example and show them that no matter what that they had gone through, it's about how you react to the situation. She said that she found when she did this that she would leave practice in a positive manner afterwards. And I thought this was really, really cool. I really enjoyed the quote that no matter what you have gone through, it's about how you react to that situation. And I think that's something that I will take with me for a long time, even after this. The next quote that really stood out to me was, she said, being a leader does not mean you are in charge or that you are the boss. It is more about understanding what you can do that is best for the group. And I personally really related to this, especially with my experience being student body president. I've always kind of viewed leadership as it's not about you, it's about the voices of the people around you and the voices that aren't heard. And so I thought it's cool that we kind of had overlap in that opinion. The final quote that stood out to me was, leadership can be found anywhere. Sometimes at camp, the kids would impress me with